Hi, my name is Joseph, and welcome to part 210 of Digimon Seekers Hacker Leon WWW Airlines Flight 626. So, right off the bat, I want to begin not with the quote, but I really appreciate how the story begins with a quick recap about the digital world, the Wassalam, and all that the vortexes. I just thought it was really great just because we haven't really discussed that. We being the readers haven't really encountered that since chapter 1. I just like it so much because for me, as an individual who's read a lot of different stories in different mediums, it just feels like Bandai is taking the storytelling quite seriously. So having that recap just made it feel like there was some substance to the narration. So I just really enjoyed it. The quote that I do want to look at is, "You sure this isn't a bad tip, Leon? I don't think the leader of the SOC would show up here," Postman said wearily. "The moment it landed directly in my account, I knew it was good. It came from an informed source, Postman. Whether it came from a hacker or a code cracker, who could say? Yeah, well, I didn't mean whether it was true or false. I meant if it was given in good faith or bad. And it was exceedingly possible it was the latter. If it was a false rumor, at least we'll know. That's useful intel. If it's just fake, that's fine. But what if it's a trap? The SOC still plenty ticked that you crashed their party on the X Nation server," Postmont said, increasingly desperate to get Leon to see his side of things. I don't like to call the Digimon it, so I tried to use the appropriate pronoun. The story said it. To see his side of things. If it's a trap, then we've hit the jackpot. All Leon had to do was turn the tables on the SOC and its legion of code crackers. This place just looks dangerous, as Postmont said uneasily, standing atop the flow of visual noise and garbage data. So this quote really shows how one could see Leon as being very arrogant right now, or very confident. He's so trusting, I suppose. He's so trusting and Postmon in his abilities that Leon feels like he's essentially untouchable, that he's safe. Kind of reminds me like from Halo Reach. There's a part in Halo Reach where Noble Team Carter, the leader, he's just walking without his weapon. His weapon is sheathed because he knows that Noble Team, he knows he could depend on them, that they're reliable. He's safe. He's right in the middle of them, right? That's like Leon walking with Postmon. He knows he's safe. But of course, Postman is recognizing that what if that this can be a trap. And Postman, I would argue that he's not being cowardly. He's just being cautious. He's thinking critically. He's just keeping all the details in mind. And it's true what Postman states that, well, after the incident with the SOC and the X Nation, there might be some repercussions at hand. And Postman ends up being correct, right? And the SOC wanted to, they could have set up a bigger trap. But they being the SOC, is relying on EG, and they've been impressed with him so far, so they sent him alone. So this quote just really says a lot about, adds a lot of characterization to Leon. And then I would argue that this is the point, at least I myself is starting to feel a little bit like, oh, Leon, as much as I did appreciate your character when you were first introduced, you're starting to be a little bit on the stubborn side, a little bit on the unlikable side. But I still do like him. I want to make that clear. Moving on to the next quote. And the last thing I want to say about the previous quote is just, again, all Leon had to do was turn the tables on the SOC and its legion of code crackers. Just that line just really demonstrates how Leon is really confident in his skills. And that could either be a good or a bad thing depending on one's perspective. I would argue that for Leon fans, they'll view it as a positive perspective, a positive trait, while those who are more EG fans or non-Leon fans, they'll view it as a negative trait. So moving on, Leon, I was happy to see you again. This is from EG. It felt like it was meant to happen, but this is different. You've crossed the line, and you should know what's going to happen after what you've done to the code crackers. If the hackers are going to act like vigilantes, they had to know there would be consequences. Did you put a bounty on our heads or what? Yeah, you're an SOC target. I'll bite. What are the conditions? Never interfere with another SOC operation, and we're good. What happened with Digimon on the X Nation server is water under the bridge. Marvin and the other SOC leaders entrusted EG with setting the terms for Leon's punishment. The terms of Leon's punishment. They probably wouldn't be thrilled with his terms, but they wanted him to do it, so this is what they were getting. All Tartarus wanted was a word of apology from Leon. That's not gonna happen, Leon said flatly. I figured. You hackers have a short fuse, and you don't know when to give up and when. And you don't know when to give up and wash your hands of it, do you? So give me a quick second. I'm gonna go back to look at a specific part. So This adds further characterization to Leon's character, I would argue. The bit that I want to focus on: never interfere with another SOC operation and we're good. What happened with Digimon and the X Nation's server is water under the bridge. So I think this will be further evidence of Leon's stubbornness. I would argue that this is actually a really good terms of surrender, or terms of engagement, whatever one of peace, whatever one wants to call it. All Leon needs to do is just stop going against the SOC. There's nothing about going against other code crackers. It's just specifically the SOC. And then in addition to that, he just has to apologize as well. Now, it's not stated if it's supposed to be a public apology, but I would assume if it's not public to the whole group, it'll be public to the group and to the public as a whole, to people outside of the SOC as well. I don't think it'll be the latter because that's just too much. It will probably be just the former. So in other words, just an apology to the group, and only the group members will be aware of that apology. And even then, it'll probably just be the SOC higher ups, not all the group itself. Yet despite this, Leon says no. What does he say? That's not gonna happen. He says flatly. That inclusion of the flatly implies that he's not even humoring this notion. He's not taking it really seriously under consideration. And why does this show that he's a little bit stubborn? Because I would argue that since Leon's obviously aware that EG's working with the SOC because of the professor, there has to be a reason for that. I know that Leon may not appreciate or respect code crackers, but again, he's aware that there's a plan in play, a plan set by his mentor. So maybe he should trust his mentor and accept that he's working with EG and working with the SOC. There might be a reason for that, right? Maybe Leon should separate himself and just focus on other code crackers. Yet he chooses not to do that. He chooses to continue to interfere in the future and not even offer a simple apology. Again, depending on one's perspective, if one's a Leon fan, they'll probably see this as, well, this is Leon sticking to his guns. He's sticking by his ideology, no different than EG. And again, for those who may not be non-Leon fans, they'll use this as evidence to suggest that to highlight Leon's stubbornness. Again, I'm really loving how EG and Leon are two sides of the same coin. They both have mindsets, they both have ideologies, and they're both willing to stand by it. I just love EG's response as well. I figured you hackers have a short fuse and you don't know when to give up and wash your hands of it, do you? So right here, EG is really being generalizing. Does he have a lot of experience with hackers? Or he may have heard of hackers generally, but has he interacted with them personally? I would argue this seems to be his first time, yet he's generalizing. I'm only bringing this up because we'll come to this shortly, the idea of generalizing. So moving on, give up code cracking and money's the issue. I might be able to help you with that. Financial assistance. What a Leon way of thinking. It irritated EG so much that Leon might as well have declared war instead. Did you hear about my plight? Did it tug at your heartstrings and loosen your purse strings? I'm not a robot, EG. I can afford to help. I chose this life. I decided this was how I wanted to win the game of life. And now you come to me and you want me to betray my ideals for money? EG could hear his pulse in his tempos. He didn't know it was possible to get this worked up in the digital world. Betray your ideals? I don't understand. Is it the money why you got into code cracking in the first place? A grim expression fell across Leon's face. He couldn't for the life of him understand what EG was driving at with this outburst. You don't get it. I might be new, but I'm already a pro. Run along back to school and quit messing with my job. Professor Rizenji's job. You want to see it through, huh? I don't have to answer to you. I'm a code cracker, and I'm a hacker. I get it. People's thoughts and beliefs divide them up, even when they'll otherwise be on the same side. Leon wouldn't give up hunting down code crackers, not so long as he knew in his heart that it was the right thing to do. It was like hackers and code crackers. It wasn't like hackers and code crackers really needed a reason to fight anyway. So right here, again, I think this is further evidence of how EG and Leon are two sides of the same coin. I do wish that the story would have reminded us, the readers, why EG went into code cracking in the first place. They kind of do touch upon it. He did mention in the first chapter how financially it does provide a way to support oneself. But I would agree with EG and stand by him in saying that he did not go into code cracking for the money itself, but rather, if one recalls in the first chapter, he became a code cracker because he wanted to change. Change what? He wanted to change life. change society. And for him, he recognized that due to his position in society, due to the tools that he had at his disposal, the best way of conducting any kind of societal change was through utilizing digital tools. In other words, becoming a code cracker. And one could argue, well, is E.G. trying to conduct a negative change or a positive change? I would suggest that it's positive, right? The reason why the professor wants to work with E.G. is because, again, they both have that same mindset that Digimon are more than just tools. Yes, E.G. was not aware about that at first, and he was treating the Tyrannomon as tools at the beginning, but we've already seen in the first chapter, by the end of it, once E.G. recognizes that Digimon are alive, they're not just sentient but sapient, he starts treating them much more kindly and warmly, much more like they're part of a community. And I really love, because we're going to come back to the Tyrannomon shortly. So again, Leon, why did he become a hacker? Because he wants to protect Digimon. Well, why is E.G. a code cracker once he discovers what Digimon are? He also wants to help protect them in the digital world as well. Again, two sides of the same coin. I really appreciate that. And I also just like how the story states, even when one should be on the same side, due to ideologies, they end up being on opposite sides. And quite literally, E.G. the code cracker with Leon the hacker. Oh, and then I suppose the fact that Leon is able to financially help E.G., I think that's evidence to suggest that Leon is a great individual. But obviously, one could argue that E.G. is being quite stubborn himself. But also from his perspective, that would be just taking charity, right? Who knows? Maybe if E.G. did take Leon's offer of no longer code cracking, maybe Leon wanted to just give him money. Maybe we'll have him like do a part-time job, work with him as a personal assistant or something like that, right? So I'm really happy that Leon's willing to help E.G. when he doesn't need to, right? Again, that goes back to the fact that, well, he knows E.G. and they're really good friends. So despite them being mad at one another, the idea of supporting one another due to being friends, it's still out there, even if it is a little bit twisted. I've seen a ton of code crackers pass through the professor's office. He uses them up and tosses them out like so much trash, Leon said with a smug hacker's grin. What did you say? No sooner had the words left E.G.'s mouth than he noticed Postman was no longer standing next to Leon. Electric rush. In an instant, Postman was right on top of them, ready to tackle Logomon. At the last possible moment, Logomon leapt into the air as Postman passed beneath. Both landed back on the wobbly floating island, squared off toward one another. Stay away from the professor. All you disposable code crackers need to stop using him, Leon shouted. Finally, the truth. That was the heart of the matter, wasn't it? E.G. was just using the professor to escape his crummy life in the real world and flee into the digital world. It was a quick way to turn his life around, to win the so-called game of life, as he put it. But what was wrong with that? Everyone starts out as a kid with nothing to their name, but some kids, like Leon, are born with silver spoons in their mouths. They start way out in front of everyone else. Fate, luck, the powers that be, call it whatever you want, but these kids are the chosen ones. The kind of people like Professor Ridgely give important jobs when they're just kids in elementary school. So right here, I'm kind of shocked at how Digimon Seekers is going to a little bit of classism. So I don't think we'll be going into too much in depth with the theme of classism, but the fact that Seekers is bringing up that E.G. and Leon are coming from two separate levels of life, two separate societal life experiences. Obviously, yeah, I would argue that Leon is a privileged individual to be able to study abroad. That's really what's the word I'm looking for? Not so much a treat, but definitely something that not a lot of individuals could do, right? Only a certain few would be able to do that. But one mustn't forget that Leon was only able to study abroad due to his dad's job, right? There's going to be some professions where they are only able to travel because that's just the profession and what it entails. For example, the most basic example I could think of would be the military, right? Depending on which base they're going to be stationed at, if one is married and have kids, when they get transferred to a different base, the family's going to go with them as well, right? And also another basic example would be business individuals as well, right? When they get transferred to a different office, a different headquarters, again, and they have a family, the family's going to go with them. So I'm not trying to say that, I'm not trying to badmouth Leon by saying that he is privileged, but it is an important aspect to recognize, a detail to highlight. And again, that doesn't mean that Leon is a bad individual. It's just again that he had an opportunity to do something that most others are able to do. Not only that, but after Leon goes back home, he's able to make the choice to return to Japan and go back to that specific university. Now, one might be thinking to themselves, well, didn't Leon earn that opportunity himself through his own skills and merit? And I would agree, but the story doesn't really mention this, but I think it would be safe to deduce that more than likely Leon did have the resources to help support him to get where he wanted to be at. Resources such as tutoring, supplies, resource. I'm saying resources again. One knows what I'm talking about, right? E.G. did not have that. Why? Well, quite literally, unfortunately, his parents were out of the picture. Thus, he didn't even have a home, right? We mustn't forget that E.G. lost that as well. And thus, E.G. needed to move out. For all we know, maybe E.G. and Leon come from the same social status, same social class. But the only reason why things changed was due to the E.G.'s parents passing away. We don't really know. There's not enough detail to explain that. But again, I think it's really cool that the story is highlighting this. E.G.'s not an individual. I mean, it's already been stated he was doing well in school, but the only reason why he was not able to pursue formal education was because of his circumstances that were beyond his control. I would argue that if E.G. had the opportunity, the resources, he would be succeeding. But unfortunately for him, as he states himself, fate, luck, the powers that be, call it whatever you want, he was not one of those kids with a silver spoon in his mouth. That silver spoon was either not present or just taken away after his parents passing. Excuse me. Yeah, so, and also I think this is the first instance where Leon is also being hurtful towards E.G., especially when he states, where is it? Excuse me. Let me go back to it. Leon said with a hug, hackers grin. So that detail, he's not just saying it with a smile, but he's saying it with a smug grin. And the inclusion of that hacker, that's not a accident, right? This is meant to set up that Leon is not just acting smugly, but using his position to make himself be above E.G., right? So this is our first instance where I would argue Leon is being hurtful, but it's not just because he wants to be hurtful, right? Again, it's two classes of ideologies, and that's why these individuals are going to end up butting heads with one another. Anyone promising easy solutions is a grifter. Moving through life means having disagreements, fights, getting knocked around a bit. It's inevitable, but losing, especially on the network, was not an option for code crackers. I'm not gonna lie, I just really like this quote because I think it's really relevant to today's time. And this goes back to what Marvin said as well at the beginning of chapter 2 when he tells E.G., a lot of individuals these days, once the going gets tough, too many individuals want to just stop doing the action, just give up essentially, right? I just like the beginning part. So the last sentence, but losing, especially on the network, was not an option for code crackers. That specifically pertains to this story, right? E.G. can't lose because he has a reputation to uphold. Other sentences before that, though, I would argue could easily be applicable to not just the story, but real life as well, or the world outside the story. Anyone promising easy solutions is a grifter. Moving through life means having disagreements. That's true. One of my favorite poets, I suppose, or writers, is John Milton from the 16th century, or playwright as well, I believe. I'm going to paraphrase, but he says something along the lines of, one can't know the bad without knowing the good as well. And how can one know both sides? Well, through disagreements, right? If one just knows one perspective, they're not going to be aware of the full picture, the full story. And that's what life is, having multiple perspectives, not just a duality, just one or two perspectives, but more than that, right? A through Z, one through more than 100 different ideological points of view. Disagreements, fights, getting knocked around a bit, it's inevitable. Getting knocked around as in sometimes what we believe to be true may not be true, and thus at that point should we stick to our guns or be stubborn or adapt our perspective to the new information that we have. So I just really like that quote because I think it goes a little bit beyond just the story. But again, I want to remind everyone that last line, but losing, especially on the network, was not an option for code crackers. That's specifically pertaining to the story and the characters within the story. I mean, it even says code crackers, right? Code crackers don't exist. Well, a version of code crackers slash hackers exists in the real world, but one knows what I mean, right? There's no actual position called code crackers. Moving on. Out of nowhere, jets of fire closed in on Batman from 3 different directions, leaving only enough time to strengthen the guard as the flames enveloped them. What the? This fire isn't from Logormon. Leon howled in confusion, eyes darting around in search of its source. He suddenly noticed multiple little heads poking out from the shadows of the garbage data pile. Tyrannomon? Where were they hiding? Leon counted 3 of them. They were indeed Digimon with a Digicore just like Postmons, but they didn't sound like any rookie Tyrannomon Leon had ever heard. They sounded calmer, trained. So really quick before I continue, another part I want to read from this quote. I think right here the use of rookie being capitalized is not rookie as in the Tyrannomon. She bumped her head against my elbow. I don't know if you guys saw that, my cat. As I was saying, not Tyrannomon's rookie level, as in their rookie champion and so forth, but rather rookie as in their rookie with the lowercase r, they're amateur. They didn't sound like any amateur Tyrannomon Leon had ever heard. They sounded calmer, trained. I think it's just a typo that the R is being capitalized, and I think it's just being capitalized because again, the individual who translated probably thought, oh, rookie, the English version of child to adult, rookie to champion. So again, that's lowercase r. So let me continue. The Mind Linker could also synchronize with any Digimon linkers being worn or connected Digimon docks to share information, allowing people to bring additional Digimon into the digital world. Though they wouldn't be mind linked, they could still be controlled with tools. Any additional Digimon could also be stored for use as bots. So I guess I should have read this separately, but it's so closely connected. That's why I read it as one whole quote. I like the second part because I just love how the world building is still present within the story. The writer or writers, again, we don't know who wrote this story. It could be one individual, multiple individuals. But the writer was aware that some readers might be confused as to why these Tyrannomon are following EG's command. Doesn't the linker strap only connect one to the Digimon they're connected to, their partner? And so this little explanation, for me, I don't know about everyone else, but I was a little bit curious when I was reading this. Like, I was happy to see the Tyrannomon back, but I was also a bit confused to the return how they're able to follow EG's commands, and not just to do reconnaissance, right? Because the last time we saw them, they were helping EG to map out Waslam or 9th Street, but also for battle. And that little explanation for me was more than enough, and it maybe that question that I had quickly dissipated, and I was able to continue enjoying the story. And I just like this quote too, just because I love how the Tyrannomon are back. And actually, before this, I didn't quote it, but I was thinking about quoting from it. I love how right off the bat, it's implied that EG and Logomon, who is now Logomon, they're not just fighting to fight, but they're fighting with a plan. As always, just more evidence that EG is not a dumb bunny. He's an individual who does think critically when he needs to. I really love it when the story has more evidence like that. Let me see if I can find that portion really quickly. Here we go. Let's go, Logomon, just like we planned. Ready, Logomon growled, glowing at Batman. Oh, sorry everyone. There is I just got frightened because I don't know if you guys saw that. That was embarrassing. There's a fly on my computer screen. I'll go ahead and take care of that after. So how embarrassing! Now everyone has a reaction of me responding to a fly. Anyways, but it just caught me off guard. Was that what I wanted to say about? Yeah. So let me move on to the next quote. Leon surveyed the situation. The Tyrannomon wouldn't be able to do anything fancy. They were just running routines from a tool. But they could hide and attack from the shadows. They didn't have to help EG win. They just had to be annoying. And they were on the clock like Logomon and Bautmon because they weren't mind-linked. I'll beat you, Leon. Even if I had to use every trick in the book to do it, EG shouted from Logomon's Digicore. What do codecrackers consider winning, exactly? Everything you do flies in the face of the law. You dress up your egotism and call it freedom. Codecrackers this, codecrackers that. Quit lumping us all together, EG yelled. I'm going to stop here really quickly. So, It's just funny because EG's pointing out that Leon is generalizing, and I would argue that he is being unfair right here, right? Because when Leon thinks of code crackers, he probably does think of individuals who specifically become code crackers because they want money, because they want fame, they want whatever selfish reason why they became a code cracker, right? For Leon, he can't take into account that one became a code cracker for actual noble reasons. One could argue that EG was being selfish, but again, as established in chapter 1, EG knew that there wasn't a lot of routes for him to change life, society, actual change. So he used what was available to him, and that was the route of code cracking. Right, a great example about this would be the figure of Robin Hood. Right, obviously he would be an individual who's a code cracker. He would not be a hacker. Yet despite that, can one say that Robin Hood's a selfish individual? That Robin Hood is a code cracker who's just in it for himself? No, right? So hopefully that analogy made sense. I love how EG points out that Leon is generalizing, and it's important that we highlight that, we being the readers, because, or that we're aware of that, because again, not all code crackers are going to be the same, right? I still believe that the Sons of Chaos, the SOC, once we discover their mission statement, it's going to be more than just utilizing Digimon, utilizing cyber terrorism for selfish purposes. It's not going to surprise me they actually have a goal similar to Professor Ruzenji, Leon, and EG, right? But yeah, let me continue reading. Leon kept quiet. Me and Lorgamon were going to win. Over and over and over again, we're going to succeed without the pity from you and your upper crust friends. We'll show you all right here in the digital world. Commands flew by on the virtual monitor as at the speed of EG's thoughts. The Tyrannomon retreated back into the piles of garbage data. It would be game over if Botmon got too close to them. There were only 3 of them, and not tool controlled Rokis at that. So EG's outburst, I think that really demonstrates he is being very emotional. I think he is quite obviously upset, but I think he's also still in control. There's enough textual evidence to suggest that despite his outburst, he's still focused. And he's still focused. Why is he focused? Because he has a plan, and he's making sure to follow that plan so far. The Tyrannomon are wetting themselves as they put their tails between their legs. We shouldn't push them. Get back, all of you. Come on home, Tyranno buddies, EG chirped, gathering them back into their dock. What are you plotting now? EG? Don't worry, soon you never have to think again. Kazuchimon took a step forward. His jagged lightning blade still pointed at the ground. EG gulped hard. You code crackers will never defeat the hackers for one simple reason. You lack convictions. Kazuchimon, now. So again, here's another great example of Leon generalizing, assuming that just because EG is a code cracker, he must be doing things for superficial reasons. That he can't be like Leon and utilizing Digimon because this is something of greater substance, a greater goal that EG wants to accomplish. He's just generalizing again, right? So going to the beginning of this quote, I love how this characterizes 2 individuals. It's kind of easy to miss if one is reading through it quickly, but this line, the Tyrannomon are wetting themselves as they put their tails between their legs. We shouldn't push them. Excuse me, everyone, my cat's fur. We shouldn't push them. Get back, all of you. That's actually Logomon talking. When I first read this, I read it as EG. Then I realized, oh no, wait, EG's line is the following one. Come on home, Tyranno buddies. I love how it's Logomon who highlights the danger. Because again, one could superficially say that Logomon's selfish. He doesn't keep in mind other Digimon. He's just a bully, essentially. But the fact that Logomon is recognizing that the Tyrannomon are outmatched and that it's best to not push them, it means that he cares about the community. Yeah, he's not saying it as sweetly as one should be, but he's still showing concern, right? I love that, and I just love EG's response. Come on home, or his reply. Come on home, Tyranno buddies. It's just very adorable. I really appreciate it. I made a mistake. What? EG couldn't immediately figure out what Leon meant. I shouldn't give you money or sympathy. No, that's not what you wanted, was it? What you really wanted was failure. What are you talking about, Leon? You want to win so badly, but you're unsure of yourself. So you talk a bit game. Think they mean a big game. But if you can't win, if you lose to me and just listen to what I had to say, all your worries would disappear. Say you give up code cracking. No, I'll break you out of the sickness that keeps you in the clutches of those degenerates. Yes, that's the best I can do for you. No, that wasn't Leon. that was Koichimon talking. He was embodying a godlike being of the digital world, and now it was speaking through him. So what I love about this so much is that it sounds like it's Leon saying, "I'll break you of the sickness that keeps you in the clutches of those degenerates. Yes, that's the best I can do for you." And I think the reason why the reader thinks that that is Leon stating that is because of Leon's what he's been saying so far, his opinions. He really does think lowly of code crackers, and that's why this line, when we first read it, it's quite easy to see how it's coming from Leon's mouth. But no, as the story reveals, that that wasn't Leon. That was Koichimon talking. He was embodying a godlike being of the digital world, and now he was speaking through him. So I just love how essentially this shows how the partners they share similar opinions and ideologies as their human partners, the digital partners and the human partners. So why would Koichimon say something like this? It's not that he truly believes that EG and Logomon at this point are degenerates, but that he wants to help them, and the best way to help them is to, as he states, break EG and Logomon of the sickness that keeps them in the clutches of the degenerates, or the clutches of the code crackers / the SOC. And this is the last quote I want to look at. EG knew Koichimon would make good on their words, regardless of what EG wanted. All he could do was struggle helplessly against his fate. He so desperately wanted to win. Losing was not an option. I want to change my life here in the digital world. I want to change my pitiful, anxious, wretched, miserable loser life, EG screamed. Scenes flashed before his eyes. The time he tried to make Professor Ryuji proud, the times he got utterly absorbed in his code cracking work, working with Logomon to digivolve them. The only time he truly forgot his worries in the real world was when he and Logomon was training to get stronger. The more powerful he got, the more success he as a code cracker, the more success he had as a code cracker. Leon, without you, no. I'm even better because of you, in spite of you. Leon was in EG's way. He just shown up again after all these years, and now he was trying to steal everything away. EG could win. EG could win. EG had to win. Digivolution. So I love this line a lot because it just shows EG's determination. That's something I haven't really discussed in quite a while. His determination, his aptitude. But again, when push comes to shove, EG's an individual who's not going to just shy away. He will do his best to stand up and succeed if he can. And right here, again, he is at an emotional point. He's having all these outbursts and these feelings because he's getting upset. Yet despite that, again, I'm going to argue that he's still in control of some of his emotions. And some textual evidence for this is the parentheses, Leon, without you. No, I'm even better because of you, in spite of you, right? So EG's aware that even though Leon's acting as an obstacle, it's helping EG to become a stronger individual. Even though Leon's fighting against EG, he's not going to lose anything from this fight. He's going to gain, hopefully, when he wins the fight, but also gain some internal growth as well. Why? Well, because Leon's helping to challenge EG and his preconceptions, his own ideologies, and if he truly believes in it. So this is a really great line. And the part ends with, obviously, Logomon is going to digivolve, I would assume, in the next part. And the way that he does so, I think, makes a lot of sense. If these Digimon are connected to the human partners, they're going to be feeling these emotions as well. And what is EG feeling? He's feeling determined. He's feeling not hope, but a battle-hardened version kind of hope. I don't want to use the word determination again, but essentially, right, that's what I'm talking about. Hope for what? Hope that he can succeed, that he'll be able to accomplish the mission that the professor put him on. All these emotions, despite him being in a negative situation, a situation that's making him become emotional, I would argue are positive emotions, and thus why if Logomon does evolve, he's going to evolve because of EG's feelings, his thoughts, his determination. Hopefully that makes sense. If it does not, please feel free to ask me to clarify in the comments or via the message system. So that's everything I wanted to look at for this part. I think it was a really exciting story. Excuse me, I always have to fix my hair when I go back to the video. I think it was an exciting part of the story, and I'm really looking forward to the next part. And yeah, I don't have a question for today, just because I did not think of one. So let me see if I could come up with one on the spot. What's your opinion about Leon? Do you think that he is being a stubborn individual, or do you think that he has some points that he is making? Excuse me, everyone. Next time I'll do a better job of having a question beforehand. I do thank you for your patience as always, and I hope that you do have a prodigious day. And take care. Thank you so much for watching slash listening. I really do appreciate it. Take care.